So, Romanus,
What's going on?
what have you been watching lately? Anything good on TV or?
Nothing new. I feel like I've hit sort of a TV slump.
I feel that.
So I've been watching. I'm rewatching Archer right now.
Yeah.
But I'm debating now what shows that I haven't gotten into in the past, just shows that I'm just thinking about diving into. But my prospects aren't great.
Yeah, I get that too.
You know.
Plus, the motivation isn't there for me.
Yeah.
Either. It's just, it takes such a commitment to get into something really rich and good. Like, I need to watch Shogun, and I'm like itching to really start Shogun.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I know it's gonna be a time commitment.
It is.
And I really want to sit down and like invest my time into it, but I'm just like, I'm afraid to. I'm really intimidated by like the word of mouth that this show has had, which is apparently very good.
Yeah.
So I've just been rewatching episodes of Arrested Development. I've been getting into Brooklyn Nine-Nine finally.
So the old reliables.
The old, like 1 through 3.
What's your top 3 old reliables?
Old reliables?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first 3 seasons of Arrested Development are definitely up there.
Great show.
I mean, in terms of sitcoms, we've touched base on this. Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Really love my Parks and Rec.
Fair.
And I don't know. I have no idea. I guess. I mean, I've been watching a lot of X-Men 97 lately.
Yeah.
The new X-Men series on Disney Plus, which is actually pretty fantastic, as it turns out. But it's gotten me really nostalgic for the actual old.
You got to
X-Men,
watch the old one.
The old
so
X-Men
good.
show
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
And I'm just like, damn, I might finish this up and then start rewatching that old 90s X-Men show again, because it's been so long and I forgot how rich and good that show is.
They do a great job in incorporating the comics. They through a lot of great X-Men storylines in that show. It's and
the inclusion of the characters throughout the entire X-Men world and larger Marvel universe is pretty fantastic as well.
yeah.
What are your old reliables then?
Old reliables for probably top number 1 is Veep. I could watch any episode of Veep at any time. On my deathbed, I'm gonna be watching Veep.
Legitimately one of the best written shows of all time.
It might be my favorite. I think it's my favorite show of all time, but it is also just a great show. It's robust.
It's
robust.
It's smart.
It's
probably like the greatest television satire of all time.
It's so fucking good.
It's funny because Veep is one of those shows that feels like it's making fun of politics, but is it?
It sometimes feels like a documentary.
It does, because it's like, I buy the ridiculousness of all of this, because this is just how I normally view politics.
Yeah. And the other thing, we live in DC.
Yes, we do.
And I have met some people that work on the Hill.
Uh-huh.
And are they as funny as characters on the Veep? Are they as neurotic? No, but they have some flashes. It feels Veep just, and the Trump era.
That's of course.
We have seen
we've seen the extremes.
We've seen
what
the
that
extremes,
looks like.
And I just love Veep, man.
Veep is great.
Veep is probably my number 1.
That's a good choice.
Number 2, old reliable, is probably Seinfeld.
Yeah, I wanted to name that for myself.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, right. Like Seinfeld just feels like seasons. I think 2 through 6, 7. To me, I can watch any episode whenever.
I feel there's 8 seasons or 9 seasons.
I want to say 9.
Yeah,
but it could be 8.
I want to say somewhere around there.
Somewhere in that ballpark. And then maybe old reliable. That the third one's the tough.
I know.
It's
like
tough.
once you get to without like any premeditation,
Yeah.
you just sit in there like, wait, what is that?
And it's just a show that you can just watch whenever. You
Pretty
can
much.
Then probably Batman the Animated Series.
Nice.
Just I can watch any episode. That show I would just watch just an episode just to get me through grad school.
Bro, we're feeling this 90s comic book cartoon nostalgia right now.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but
because they were fantastic shows.
They were terrific.
They were
weren't
so
they?
good. Even the animated Spider-Man show.
Oh my god, the 90s one.
The 90s
kidding
one.
me?
And then they did Spider-Man 2099. Like
Yeah.
they had a few. Yeah, it was great. There's some
time.
crossover episodes with the X-Men.
Yes,
show.
there are.
Yeah.
It was a good time for cartoons, like comic book cartoons in the 90s.
I kind of miss being a kid, but then it's nice to have money.
It is nice to have money. Like
It's
money,
nice that-
the
yeah.
independence of having your own money to do whatever you want with.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes.
Even though it's nice to spend my parents' money, I will,
Usually, I would prefer to do that.
Oh,
Like,
I think everybody would.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, hello everybody.
Hey everybody.
Welcome back to the Loose Leaf Media Podcast, or as we like to call it, Letterblacks. I am Davis Leaf. I'm here with my co-host,
Romanus.
And today we are here to talk about Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, which was released a week ago, and both of us have now seen up to this point. Sorry a little bit for the delay. We were not able to go and see it together. But we have both seen it now, we have both digested it, and we are here to talk about everything Mad Max. So let's get into it here, because Romanus, I have some data that I want to talk about.
Let's do it.
Because I'm sure you've heard about the box office performance of Furiosa.
The very disappointing performance.
Yes, the very disappointing. And I'll elaborate that on that in a second here. But I want to add some context.
Okay.
Here. I have some very interesting pieces of information, and I want to pose a very important question to you once I have emphasized this here. So, we are now living in what I would call a post-pandemic world.
Sure.
2020 was a shit show of a year for everybody.
Right.
Everybody knows that, and hopefully we are all taking steps to move past that point now. But after the first year of 2020, that being 2021, movies were starting to kind of get back on track a little bit. 2020 did not see any films, like major films released, and the one big experimental take was when Tenet had been released.
Absolutely.
And it severely underperformed at the box office for various reasons. And it wouldn't be until like another year later that movies would start to finally find their footing again in pop culture, like when it comes to movie theaters.
Right.
So the weekend of 2021 for Memorial Day saw the release of A Quiet Place Part 2, which generated $57 million in its opening weekend, which is pretty solid for, the post-pandemic, the first year after the pandemic was starting to kind of dissipate for itself. The following year is when things really got back on track with the Memorial Day weekend release of Top Gun Maverick, which generated $160 million opening weekend domestically, and this is all domestic to elaborate. The following year, 2023, last year, we saw the release of The Little Mermaid, which generated $118 million. I did not see this film, but that does not surprise me in the slightest. Family movie, holiday weekend.
Kids movie, Disney, absolutely.
Makes perfect sense that did very well.
Yeah.
Now, to backtrack a little bit, we are almost 10 years since the release of Mad Max Fury Road, a film that saw huge critical success and much better financial success than anybody was anticipating. This film released a week before Memorial Day weekend. Its original release generated $45 million at the box office, against a production budget of $150 million. The following weekend, for Memorial Day, it generated $94 million at the box office, doubled its sales in a week. That is absolutely insane. I, to this day, am still very impressed, but, word of mouth definitely helped at that point, and that's just what happened. Fury Road was a terrific movie.
Right.
Now, we come to Furiosa. This movie, against a production budget of $168 million, this is not counting distribution and marketing, this weekend it made $32 million at the box office for Memorial Day weekend.
Not great.
And now I am here to ask you, Romanus, what the hell happened? What do you think happened with this movie?
I want to preface this by saying that this was probably my most anticipated movie of the year, right? We talked about this before because I loved Fury Road when I saw it, and I saw it in theaters in 2015.
Same.
And I think I saw it twice. I was in that group of people.
I literally did
saw
see
it the
twice.
next weekend. Right?
I did, yeah.
And I think that the issue with this movie, there's a few, but the main one is that it's come out 10 years after Fury Road, and you've just completely wasted the momentum that you had off of the excitement from Fury Road. That's the main one. It's just that it's hard to come out with a, not, it's a prequel, right?
Yes.
So it's hard to get audiences excited about this prequel movie based off of a movie that everybody was excited about, but 10 years ago.
Of course.
I also think that when we say that movies are back, I think that maybe we should say that we've gotten to a new normal with movies. Just because there's so much content, there's so many streaming platforms, even since 2015.
So true.
Right? Like HBO Max didn't exist 10 years ago, but now you can watch Dune 2 on HBO Max on the same weekend that this movie came out. So there's just a lot to compete with.
Absolutely.
It's
and for as much money as Dune Part 2 had generated for itself too, and with the anticipation going into that film,
right,
it's still doing a lot better on streaming now.
I'm sure that
people
it
are
probably
still, the conversation for that film is still higher than it seems like Furiosa is in a lot of ways.
I really feel bad for this movie because
too.
The movie itself I really enjoy. The issues that I have with this movie are really on the outside. Is that it's they should have made this movie. This movie should have come out in 2018.
I would agree.
You know what I mean? Like
when the hype is real.
When the hype is real.
Like fresh.
Yeah. Or even at the most 2020.
2020, yeah.
But
that would make it a 2021 release.
There's a lot maybe we should have done differently before 2020.
It kind of seems like, yeah. It kind of seems like it now.
Maybe that's a little lower on the list. But man, I just think that it's a mix of poor planning and just bad luck, right? Like who can anticipate
Very bad luck.
the pandemic?
I'm kind of shocked by the box office performance of this film though, because it seemed like the hype was kind of there. Like when you saw the trailers for this film get released earlier, the first trailer for this film was one of the best trailers I'd seen in a while.
Yeah, very
little dialogue, just the sonic momentum to it, this intensity, and it reminded me of the trailers for Fury Road when that came out. And I'm just like, look at this. This looks absolutely epic, and it just ends with that great line that Chris Hemsworth says, which if you contextualize that within the movie, it's very different than how the film portrays it. But when Chris Hemsworth just goes, "Do you have it in you to make it epic?"
Yeah.
Just ending the trailer with that note, and then we see the reveal of Anya Taylor-Joy taking off the mask with her buzz cut.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh shit, this looks crazy good. And it's like the hype. I felt like the hype was there. Like you watched that trailer, and it's like, who's not gonna go see this? Yeah. This looks great. Now
it sucks. It sucks that it's not getting the same love as Fury Road, but man, the other thing that I want to say is that it's a prequel to a movie, and so when you go in, we already know the ending to this movie essentially.
Exactly.
Because we know where Fury Road begins.
Yes.
We know that Furiosa is gonna end up at the Citadel. This isn't even a spoiler. Like
the movie takes a lot of these pivots that I just feel like it needed to in order for there to be a story. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Where it's like we kind of know where this is all going in the very end. So we have a very long movie. It's 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
And luckily I was never bored throughout the movie really.
Absolutely not.
It's very thrilling and it's very intense. But the movie feels like it's very much struggling to keep me feeling invested and compelled. And now so we've talked about the box office now, and now I would like to actually get into our personal feelings.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you, Romanus. I was disappointed by this movie.
Wow. Wait. Oh my. That breaks my heart.
It broke my heart too. Fuck. I realized I think I was gonna be disappointed by this movie within the first 20 minutes.
So you. Okay, like we'll have a spoiler discussion.
We will,
but
before we get into why I don't want to harp on the negatives first. I really would like to talk about first and foremost what I did like about this movie, because there is a pretty good amount of things.
Then let's get into it.
Like I said, the movie is very thrilling. I was never bored watching it. I liked it. I thought it was a fun time at the movies, and I definitely think you need to see this on a big screen.
Absolutely.
You saw it in IMAX?
I saw it in IMAX,
Yeah, baby. I saw it in IMAX.
Middle of the theater.
Fully worth the experience still.
Yes.
Very immersive world. I thought the world building in this was arguably better than it was in Fury Road. Arguably.
Okay.
And I only say that because it expands upon things that were already established in Fury Road that we didn't necessarily get to see. Like certain locations that are only mentioned in Fury Road that we actually get to see. Yes,
absolutely.
And I actually loved that in this movie. That was really cool.
You get to see Gastown. You get to see the bullet farm.
Yeah, yeah, that was all cool. And first and foremost, the cinematography in this movie is just as good as it was in Fury Road.
Gorgeous.
It looks terrific.
Absolutely.
Just like from like a photography standpoint.
Absolutely.
It looks really, really good.
Yeah.
And that I also owed a lot to the production design of this movie. Production design is also terrific.
Yeah.
And that works in tandem with makeup and hairstyling, costuming. All of that is just as good as it was in Fury Road. And I really did appreciate the story structure of this movie. I liked that chapter structure that this movie had.
I knew you would love it.
I did. I like it when movies do that.
Well,
it makes it feel like a
film.
I knew you were gonna make that reference. I knew you were gonna make that comparison.
Of course.
Yes, I love my Tarantino style of like filmmaking.
I know you well.
But I liked it because the movie wants itself to be like an odyssey, like a character journey in that way, and that made it feel more like a storybook in that way.
Okay.
Where it feels like I'm watching something play out that is supposed to be adapted from some form of literature, but the literature is the film itself.
Sure.
And it feels that way with its structure. And I want to emphasize with its structure, not with its plot.
So your issue is with the structure, not the plot?
No. My issue is with the plot.
Oh, okay.
Not the structure.
Okay. I'm sorry. Then I'll let you continue.
No. That's pretty much all. I mean, the world building's really good. I like the story structure. There's one action sequence that will forever stick in my head in this movie.
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's the one with the rig. The first scene with the rig.
When she's the stowaway on the rig.
The first moment when they're skiing on the fucking sand and they shoot up in the air with the parachutes. I was like, now this is my shit.
When I saw man, that's why I cannot completely say that I'm disappointed with this movie, because there were still aspects where, man, when was the last time you were in a movie theater and just a moment in a movie made you smile? Like, for me, when I was watching that sequence when they're on the war rig, and
that's when you're leaning forward and you're like, hold up,
man,
I'm locking in right now.
My eyes got big. I couldn't take my eyes off of the screen. It just, George Miller does have a talent for just incorporating great action set pieces and fantastic cinematography and practical effects.
Absolutely.
It just, God.
And so with that, I love that action scene.
Yeah.
And I want to give a shout out the performances of Chris Hemsworth and Charlie Frazier, who played Mary Jabasa, Furiosa's mother.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Amazing performances by both of those two. I love, like, you're not gonna fully agree with me on this, but Chris Hemsworth is fantastic in this movie because he is hamming it up. He is having a great time. And I love actors that are very well established and well known for different kinds of performances who just get into this villainous character and just start hamming the screen and owning every scene. And I'm like, I can't take my eyes off this. He's having a good time.
Yeah.
But Charlie Frazier, Mary Jabasa, she was terrific. And I was pretty sad that she was only in like the first 30 minutes of this movie because I was so invested on her, like, her crusade to get her daughter back. And that's where the movie starts to go downhill for me after she left.
You know what? I think that I probably would have liked a movie about Furiosa's mother looking for her. Like,
exactly.
that would have been a cool odyssey.
That was
itself.
the most interesting part of the story for me, where I was just like, this is the compelling part. Because this is the most fun I've had at the movies this year that made me feel nothing.
Well, and even though even in that movie idea where Furiosa's mother's looking for just a movie about that, you know that Furiosa's mother doesn't find her, but it's a new character that we're introduced to, and that
character journey, I'm just like, I know essentially the catharsis of it,
right?
But I don't know how it comes up. I don't know how it comes to be.
Exactly.
And you could say the same thing about Furiosa's character journey too, but there's just so many beats with her character. I'm just like, I know where this is headed. I know where all this is going, and this is why I'm saying the movie had to pivot and turn itself essentially into a revenge story just to pad its own runtime. Because like, we know that she's about to get all of the women out of the Citadel and transport them to the Green Place, and we know that she's gonna arrive at the Green Place and it's not gonna be there anymore. So I'm like, what is my investment in this story? That's how I felt throughout most of the movie, because I'm just like, I know where this is going, because Dementis is not in the next movie, so I know that she's going to get her revenge somehow. And I'm just like, for me, for whatever reason, I was not really caring a lot how she got to that point. I don't know why.
The cure to your feeling would have been to include more action set pieces. If you have I know what you mean. You have a look at this. You're looking like you're not sure about what I'm saying. But if this movie felt thin in its action, there's only really two action scenes that to me were fantastic.
The rig chase, and then there's that bullet farm.
The bullet farm sequence is fantastic.
That was good too. I liked that.
But those were the only two where I was like, damn, this movie is giving me Fury Road vibes. And
it took an hour for the first real action set piece to happen.
Yes. And we're spoiled by Fury Road because pretty much from beginning till end, you have action.
It's the longest chase scene ever.
And honestly, it would have been, there were, I think, maybe 2 or 3 scenes where people are actually talking in a calm room, or just in a calm space.
So I rewatched Fury Road the other day too, because I was just like, am I feeling like I'm being too harsh on Furiosa? Was like, because it's been a while since I'd watched Fury Road, and I'm just like, were there aspects of that film that actually weren't as good that I'm just like misremembering? And I go back and I rewatch it, and I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
There is not a dull moment in this movie, and even the moments of like really compelling character drama hit so hard in that movie.
Yeah.
And I forgot, like, Charlize Theron is the GOAT.
She's amazing.
In that movie. She's so amazing. Good in that movie.
Yeah.
But at the same time, her friendship that she builds with Tom Hardy's Mad Max is so compelling and interesting to me in that movie. I don't know what it was, but I honestly forgot how good Tom Hardy is in that movie because I forgot, like, over time it's just like, this is this movie about Furiosa.
Both movies are about Furiosa.
Both of them are about Furiosa. And in the first one, Mad Max is just kind of a side character, but everything is mostly taking place from his point of view, but he's not what the story is about.
Right.
And seeing that friendship develop between him and Furiosa is beautiful, and Tom Hardy's performance is so much better than I remember in that movie. He actually has a pretty compelling character arc in that story. And it's about redemption, and it's a great story for that reason. And all the supporting cast in that movie, all the women that are escaping too,
fantastic.
All of them are fantastic in that
Absolutely.
movie. I love them. I love their character names. Everything that George Miller does with that first movie is great. And I want to get into my biggest issue with Furiosa.
Well, okay, so, now when you present it like that, we have to just go into it. What are you saying?
I hated the visual effects in Furiosa.
What?
I thought they were awful.
What are you talking about?
Absolutely dog shit.
Wait, whoa. Whoa. What do you... No. Are you talking about how they're... No, okay. I'll let you finish your point. I'm sorry. I'm just shocked.
No, please.
I am shocked.
Yeah, I know. I
because
you would be.
You complimented the cinematography.
Yeah.
The
cinematography, the camera framing and movement is great. Absolutely. The editing is great in Fury Road as well. the visual effects were pissing me off throughout the entire movie.
So what's wrong with the visual effects in Furiosa?
Mostly the green screen. Green screen is horrible in almost every single scene.
So I will say that
it does not look good.
I will say that there's much more practical effects in Fury Road than there are in Furiosa.
Much more.
And I think that the issue is that Fury Road was such a hard movie to shoot.
It was. The production for that movie was a mess and a disaster.
These movies are terrible to produce because you have these actors in this desert, and it's a great end product, but everyone on the set hated each other.
Exactly.
Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy, even though they have a
fighting
great
like
chemistry
cats
on
and
screen,
dogs.
they were. I mean, and honestly, I kind of get it. If you're in a desert,
you kidding me? The heat blazing down,
and you're in
George
a hot
Miller's
truck,
forcing you to do all of these insane practical stunts.
Yeah, you're gonna be angry. Dude, Tom Hardy was swinging from a goddamn rod, like, just, like on a truck.
Exactly. It's like people aren't hitting their marks in time when they're doing these absolutely insane stunts.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, I'm gonna get pissed at people.
Yeah, and I can understand why they said, okay, in the next movie we need to incorporate more CGI so that it will help with production. But I guess you're unsatisfied. I actually thought it was like seamless. Maybe I'll have to watch it again.
Yeah, I was severely unsatisfied with this movie.
I will say with Furiosa's home, I could tell that all the background is just CG.
I could see it in almost every single scene in this movie,
Damn,
during the action sequences.
Wow.
Many of which, like, I know that there's practical effects there, but I was so distracted by the visual effects from green screen and CGI that I was barely even able to notice any of the practicality of the action set pieces in this movie. I was so distracted, and it was pissing me off to the point where I was like, I can't help but compare this movie's action sequences to Fury Road, because Fury Road is flawless,
of course,
in its action set piece execution.
Yeah,
this movie is flawed severely, and it was just difficult for me to get attached to any of the things happening in this movie for that reason, when the production budget is higher than it was for Fury Road.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's so much worse.
Wow.
Like, so much worse. I felt like I was watching a modern Marvel movie, like a poorly produced modern Marvel movie. It looked that bad to me.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Okay. If this movie wasn't attached to Fury Road, do you think that your expectations would be different? Do you think that your reaction would be different? Oh, so you would still feel like it's not.
If Fury Road didn't exist, this movie would still look like shit.
Okay. Because I have a sort of different opinion. I don't think that it looked like shit to me, but I mean, I guess it's a part of taste. I've seen way worse CGI.
I have too.
Right?
Like it's not the worst movie I've ever seen.
That's what I mean.
Like in terms of visual effects.
I think that it's compared to Fury Road, the effects might not be as good.
I would say that this movie I would be able to look past the visual effects more in this movie if Fury Road didn't exist. But when you have movies that have already come out this year, like Dune Part 2 or Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, where the visual effects are so goddamn flawless in those movies.
Those were real monkeys in that kingdom.
Exactly. And the anticipation for this movie was arguably higher than both of those movies. Arguably.
More than Planet of the Apes, but probably the same as Dune.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes. It should not look this bad for that reason.
Sure.
It should not. And for a production budget as high as this movie has, I don't know why. And especially since this movie is not really comprised of action scenes as much as Fury Road was.
Yeah.
There's, like we said, there's like 2 specific action scenes in this movie. And a lot of it is, quote, character driven, I guess. But
okay. Davis just used air quotes on the podcast.
I did.
Thank you for doing that.
Anytime I do that, I want you to be the one that elaborates that I did that.
Oh, I'm this is a Davis Leaf documentary. This isn't even a podcast.
This is the first time everybody here is hearing me passionately talk about how much I didn't like an element of a movie.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I know. I want people to hear this.
Okay, sure.
Because I really did not like the visual effects of this movie. And it held the movie back for me, because if there's one thing that this movie should have done right, it was the visual effects.
I wonder if it has anything to do with just the difference in storyboarding that you're gonna have to do between the two movies.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Fury Road, it's storyboarded as just a very long car chase, right?
Well, that's the script.
That's the script.
The script is like George Miller created a series of storyboards for this movie before he even started writing a script.
Yeah. And in this movie, there's so many. This movie goes to so many different scenes. There's the one scene where, I guess we're past spoilers. Maybe this isn't even a spoiler, but she basically jumps onto a hanging like car that's like, you know, hundreds of feet in the air.
Yeah.
There's no way you can do that practically with a little girl.
You're
gonna do it
Absolutely.
with CG, right? But that introduces
do we
an element.
have to do that?
That's what I'm saying. Like they probably should have looked for scenes that they could do practically, but at the same time, the issue is that the first movie sucked to produce.
Yeah.
So
You wanted to make things easier.
You wanted to make things easier. And the production budget is probably good for a movie for practical effects, but probably not for a movie where you have to do tons of CGI. You're hiring like people to do hours upon hours of, you know, computer generated imagery.
Absolutely. And I want to specify that when I say that I don't like the visual effects in this movie, I really am only referring to the use of green screen in this movie. A lot of the background of this movie is just a poor contrast with what is actually occurring in front of the camera.
Right.
Like, all of the special effects in this movie are really good. It's just when you start implementing that green screen and compositing all of these images together, it just didn't look good for me.
See, that's so hard because I can tell you movies where the green screen definitely took me out of the movie. Black Panther at the end.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It took me out of the movie where it's two like cat suits fighting, and it looks worse than a PS2 game.
It wasn't good.
It wasn't good. There was never a point in this movie where I felt like the CGI or the green screen effects took me out of the movie. Maybe when Dementus is hanging from the, you know, broken down like stairs, and he's right like maybe that took me out a bit. But I don't know. I think overall this movie just had big shoes to fill, man.
It did.
I think
it really did.
It was going to be really difficult, and I just don't know if this was a good idea.
I don't either.
I don't, even though Furiosa is such a likable character, right? I love Charlize Theron's performance in Fury Road.
My goodness.
It's so stoic and yet so emotional.
It becomes less and less stoic though every single time I watch that movie. Like, even, like, I know exactly what you mean.
Right.
But after just rewatching Fury Road, she does so much in that movie.
She does, yeah.
To the point where, like, half the scenes, she's being so emotional in such a subtle way that it actually brought me to tears twice rewatching this movie.
Yeah.
She's so good in that movie.
When she finally breaks down, when she has the realization that her home doesn't exist anymore, the home that she's been dreaming about returning for, I guess, 15 years... That is heartbreaking.
It's so heartbreaking.
Right? You've
soul
made
crushing.
It's soul crushing, and you see it on her face.
And honestly, I felt it more rewatching it after Furiosa. I really think that one of the best things that Furiosa does is uplifts the quality of Fury Road even more. And I do think that they are good companion pieces. I think that if you like Fury Road, you should watch Furiosa.
Yeah.
And then you should rewatch Fury Road right after that to get the full story.
Yeah.
And it feels like a great entire story in that way. And so we all know that Charlize Theron is terrific
Amazing.
as Furiosa, but what are your thoughts on Anya?
Okay. I think that she did good. Not great,
of course,
but good.
She's good.
I haven't seen her in too many movies. I mean, like people are going goo over her.
No,
like
she's one of the it goes right now. She's no
is.
Zendaya, but she is she's up there in terms of like our freshman class in our generation right now.
I do feel excited about the next generation of Hollywood.
Absolutely.
I like the projects that they're taking, and I think that we just talked about how Charlize Theron's Furiosa is stoic. I think that I like how we see Anya Taylor-Joy's stoicism come throughout the movie. It does feel like she gives a great performance. I see the intensity in her eyes.
She feels like Furiosa, a younger version of Furiosa.
Here's where This is probably a little nitpicky, and that's why I know you're gonna like this. Man, in Fury Road, Charlize Theron looks weathered. She looks like she's been in a apocalyptic society where there's a lot of dust, and she's constantly working on a rig. She's driving, like she's, like her skin looks like she's been in the sun a lot.
She's like flaking.
Right.
Her skin is like flaking in that movie.
It's important because then you see Morton Joe's wives, and they're so pampered. They're so
Those are supermodels.
But they're supposed to be, right? He's taking care of his wives. It's whatever, dude. No, but they like Charlize Theron is a beautiful woman in real life, but she's playing a character who is a general in a post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah,
and that beaten down look, that weathered look, is important because it brings contrast to the wives of Immortan Joe. So it just tells you that like these women have been pampered, and Charlize Theron is not like these other women, but they are joined together in this oppression, and they're all trying to escape.
Absolutely.
With Anya Taylor-Joy, she just doesn't have that weathered look that I think gave Furiosa some of her just character quality. I
get what you mean. I mean, this was the early days of her, like her time with Immortan Joe's empire, so I don't know if she had fully gotten to that point where she was entirely weathered. But
they do have that time skip from when she's the child actor, which I would understand.
What a crazy seamless time skip too that was.
It was, yeah. It was
jarring. It was kind of like, wait, what? Yeah. Is that Anya Taylor-Joy now?
That wasn't.
Usually movies make that clear but like I actually appreciated how seamless that was.
I really don't even know when Anya Taylor-Joy comes into the movie. That's how seamless it was.
It wasn't even like like the first moment when the younger version of Furiosa cuts her hair off and it, for whatever reason, falls onto that branch, and then we see that time lapse.
Yeah.
And then she was still the younger version for still a bit of time after that. Then, like, a few minutes later, she becomes Anya Taylor-Joy. I don't know what that was about, but that was weird. That was a weird edit.
I will say, the child actor that they got, I think, I have her name written down.
She's great.
She was good.
You know, it's funny. She was the lead character in the movie Sting that I saw recently, the giant spider movie.
Lila Brown.
Yeah, she was the lead actor in that, and that was an Australian movie.
Yeah.
Which, for anyone that doesn't know, Mad Max is Australian because George Miller.
Yeah. Great performance by Miss Brown.
She's great. Yeah. She was fantastic. Yeah. I really liked her as well.
The performances in this movie were good. Like I like Anya Taylor-Joy, besides her being too just like, she looks like she just came out of her trailer. Like just with, it's I don't know. That's a little nitpicky, but other than that, I think that for what she had to follow in a great performance by Charlize Theron, I think she did a great job.
I think she did. I think she did good.
Yeah,
yeah. Shout out to Tom Burke as well, who played what was his character's name? Jack.
Oh,
he was like her mentor.
Praetorian Jack.
Praetorian Jack. Yeah.
Shout
out to him. He was terrific.
He was great.
He for anyone that doesn't know, he played Orson Welles and David Fincher's Mank.
Yes, he did.
As well.
Yeah.
He's really good in that movie as well.
You're so right. I was wondering where I recognized him from. You're so right.
He was really good in this movie too. Yeah, I really enjoyed him.
I liked his chemistry with Anya Taylor-Joy.
Me too. He's really not in the movie that much. He's like in the movie for only like the second act. Mm-hmm. But like the chemistry that they have is great with one another. There are just so many moments in this movie that I just wish there were more of in this movie. I wanted more of that character, and I wanted more of Mary Jabasa, her mother.
Yeah.
And I just feel like those were the most interesting characters in the movie to me, and they're just not in the movie that much.
I think I would have watched a Praetorian Jack movie.
I would too.
But
do you remember so do we want to get into spoilers now? I think we've talked enough about how we feel about this movie. Do you want to do it? Should we transition into spoilers?
Let's transition into spoilers.
All right, transitioning into spoilers. Here we go. So, I guess we'll just start out the ending. You know, there's that motif with the seed throughout the entire movie.
Right.
The plum tree seed, and
Is that a plum or a nectarine?
I don't. I thought it was no, not plum. Peach.
Okay,
peach,
it's a peach. Yeah.
We're both wrong.
We're both. I feel like nectarine's closer.
I like. Shut up.
But stone fruit, fruit tree.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's go. Stone fruit season, baby.
All right, stone fruit season with soil made of Chris Hemsworth.
That was very kind of like that took me out of the movie.
That was the edgiest thing that this movie did.
It's like a tree's coming
just right in the last moment.
How do you even do that? And also, he would be dead. There's a tree growing out of him.
I don't know. She was doing something to keep him alive.
For him to suffer.
Like, think about, like, Seven. Like, you know what I'm talking about, the movie Seven.
Yes.
My second David Fincher reference in the last 5 minutes.
I know. We're going to have a counter.
You're always going to reference Star Wars, and I'm always going to reference David Fincher at any occasion.
By the way, I have not referenced Star Wars yet.
Well, we have time.
I
think just to keep this trend alive, you should figure out a way to implement that into the rest of this recording. So that was creepy at the very end when there's a tree growing out, and then boom, movie ends.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, it's not perfect, and it's definitely not as good as Fury Road.
No,
but
it's a flawed movie.
But
it's a good time at the movie theaters, though.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I would definitely say check this one out.
Yes.
Like
I recommend
see it on the biggest screen, the loudest screen that you can. It's thrilling. You'll probably enjoy yourself. My expectations were very high for this movie, and unfortunately they didn't meet those expectations, but can't always win them all. And I can tell that George Miller still put his heart and soul into making this movie.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I'm even a little more positive with it. I would say definitely.
Say so.
This is a popcorn movie where you go in and you just sit back, you just eat your popcorn up, and you enjoy the movie. There's some great moments in it. Chris Hemsworth is hammy, but I actually kind of like it.
No, he's great. I love him in this movie.
It's a worthy villain in this franchise.
Yeah,
it's a
great year for villains.
It has been a great year. Yeah,
over the top villains.
Yeah, as it should be.
I like it.
It should. Movies should be fun. I'm here for this. It was a fun movie.
It was a fun movie. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Have fun.
Go to the movies. Check out Furiosa. Have fun. Manage your expectations or don't. But it was a good time.
Yeah,
I'm still here for this. Has been a really fun year for movies so far, and I'm just really looking forward to seeing the next one.
Yeah.
So, plenty of stuff coming out this summer still. Plenty of stuff we're going to talk about. We're going to review. So far, solid start to the summer. Seen some fun things that we haven't talked about. Go check out I Saw the TV Glow as well.
Okay.
Definitely one of the best movies I've seen this year for sure as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I got. Furiosa, fun time at the movies. Didn't meet my expectations, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not. Yeah. It's a fun movie.
And I am proud of you for handling your disappointment.
Yeah, only on the mic. When I turn this thing off,
he's gonna destroy his apartment.
I'm gonna keep throwing a fit about it. Well, anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in to this week's episode of the Loose Leaf Media Podcast. My name is Davis Leaf. I'm here with my co-host
Romanus,
and we are going to be back within the next week for probably taking a break a little bit of the talking about like the current movies, and we're going to kind of dive into some more personal takes a little bit more and kind of get people acquainted to our own interests a little bit deeper. And so we're going to be doing that more regularly. So stay tuned. See you guys on the next episode.
Bye, guys.
Take care. Hello, everybody. This is the Loose Leaf Media Podcast coming at you with a little bit of an epilogue to our discussion today. Romanus and I would like to invite all you listeners to be a little bit more part of our creative journey here. So going forward, we're going to do more surveys to kind of determine what all of you would like to hear from us and answer questions regarding our own personal tastes, our creative process, and just the way that we can generally improve the listening experience for everyone. So currently, our podcast is available on Spotify for anybody to listen to at any time, but we would really like to know, where are all of you listening to your podcasts? Because not everybody has Spotify, so we would like to create an opportunity eventually to expand for people to listen to our podcasts on different platforms if Spotify isn't available to them. So Romanus, would you like to expand upon that a little bit more on how we're going to do that?
Yeah, we'd also like to introduce a new segment called The Leaf Pile, where you as the audience can submit questions that we'll answer weekly on each episode. These questions can be about movies, TV, music, life advice, whatever you want. You can throw your questions into the Leaf Pile over email by using our new email account, looseleafmedia95@gmail.com. Just include Leaf Pile into the email subject line for submission. You can also tell us where you would like to listen to the podcast on different platforms, so even Apple Music, wherever you want, using this email account. Again, that's looseleafmedia95@gmail.com, all lowercase.
Thank you, everybody. We're very much looking forward to hearing from everybody pretty soon. We're going to be answering any questions submitted on episodes going forward, maybe one or two of them. And we're just really looking forward to hearing everybody's thoughts and getting everyone involved with our process here. We will see you guys next time.
Ciao.